causing Kanye to leave abruptly. And with that, a ton of people saying, how the fuck do Kanye 2024 people think he's going to handle a debate stage when he ran from a Tim Pool podcast because Tim wasn't being anti-Semitic enough? And this was the most favorable environment you could have possibly asked for. You even had Tim later going on to talk about how wild it is that he couldn't even have a small conversation about this with him. Also going on to say, was this pre-planned? Is this part of Milo Yiannopoulos' revenge? But here's all I'll say. If you are someone that thinks that Tim Pool was going in hard on Kanye West, what is fucking wrong with your brain? Kanye West got KO'd by someone using kid gloves. And it genuinely has me questioning how much lead is in the water supply, because there are a decent chunk of people that saw that interview and they're like, Tim Pool is a secret leftist operative. It's truly mind-blowing. And then Black Friday was a bust until it wasn't. Right, in yesterday's show, which, by the way, there was a show yesterday. YouTube ended up suppressing it, I think because we covered that Balenciaga story, so some of you didn't see it. But we talked about how just retail was struggling. You didn't have huge crowds. It was like a slightly busy shopping day. But we're now getting the news that Black Friday sales broke records online, which as of today is exactly what we saw over at beautifulbastard.com, where, by the way, you have about 36 hours or less if you want to get in on this drop. We're talking emotionally exhausted flower power goodness, sports gear, for all the sports. One day we'll all be skeletons. This Santa design that my team threw in because they're trying to get me canceled. And in addition to all that comfy goodness, premium notebooks, water bottles, and the best fucking candle you will ever buy. Remember, all the profits from this drop are going to the Philip DeFranco likes overpriced steak fund. Only available for the next 36 hours at beautifulbastard.com. But these great numbers we saw across the board. With inflation stress, U.S. shoppers still having the urge and dropping $9 billion online on Black Friday. And yesterday's Cyber Monday sales expected to bring in a record $11 billion. And also what was very notable is how people were buying. Yes, they were doing it online, but a record number of people use their phones. Right, we're talking nearly half of people. And buy now, pay later payments rose 78% from the previous week. But also, here's a key thing. For a lot of these companies, more sales do not necessarily mean more profits. A lot of what we were seeing were steep discounts on things they were just trying to get out the door. When you have steeper discounts, that means slimmer margins. So in fact, despite this last week's strong sales, analysts actually still expect holiday sales to fall this season when adjusted for inflation, which is absolutely a big deal because that would be the first holiday drop since 2009. And then, have you forgiven Will Smith? That is the question at the center of this story. Right back in March, which, by the way, why does it feel like 7 years ago, Will Smith smacked Chris Rock at the Oscars? It was a massive story, everyone chiming in, Will Smith kind of retreating from the spotlight, with Will eventually coming back with an apology video, and now he is tasked with promoting his first big film since the incident. It's called Emancipation. It's an Apple TV Plus film. It's going to have a limited theatrical release. And so with him now doing promo for the film, it's also kind of turned into a continued apology circuit.
That was a horrific night, as you can imagine. I was going through something that night, and not that justifies my behavior at all. No. I guess the thing that was most painful for me is I took my heart and made it hard for other people. Right. And it's like I understood the idea where they say hurt people.
Yeah. With him going on to talk about when he was a little boy, he watched his father beat up his mother, which, like I said, when this incident happened all the way back then, I had read his book. Like, his whole life was feeling like he failed the women he cared about. And at one point in this, you had Trevor Noah saying he believes Will Smith just made an honest mistake, the audience clapping, seemingly agreeing. And following this, depending on where you go on social media, drastically different reactions. Some in the camp of, no, fuck him, he doesn't actually care, this is just about his career. Others saying, no, it seems like a genuine apology, that he's trying to grow from it. Also, people saying, he has nothing to apologize for. And personally, I'm of the mindset of that whole slap situation. Unless you're Chris Rock, you're Will Smith, or you're the Oscars, I don't know why you're still caring about it at all. Is what Will Smith did then wrong? Yes, been saying that since the beginning. But should he be forced to grovel to the extent that it feels like people want him to? No. Which is why I agree with certain comments that say tons of people in Hollywood have done far worse and get welcomed back in good graces without an apology. Meanwhile, Will Smith is being treated as the poster child for shame, repeatedly begging for forgiveness. And actually, regarding Chris Rock, I recently went to a show of his, and in no way does it seem like he's like, that guy shouldn't have a career now. I mean, he popped off some funny jokes about Will Smith, which I think he gets to do since Will Smith popped him. And if anything, I think this situation is just further confirmation that for a lot of people, it's not really about someone apologizing or trying to become a better person. It's about people feeling like they have the power to make someone that's that big, that's that successful fucking weak. It's more about getting a pound of flesh from someone that seemed untouchable. But hey, that's a story, one fuckface's opinion, and I'll pass the question off to you. What's yours? And then the stock market looks wild right now. The S&P 500 is down 17%. Even Apple is down 20%. And that's actually one reason why private investing, which is normally not something regular folks have access to, is so interesting. In fact, US VC fundraising has already set a new annual high of $150 billion this year. Wealthy investors back early stage companies to discover Tesla and Apple before they become billion-dollar companies. And historically, only accredited investors with a few exceptions have had access to these investments, which means you have to make $200K plus a year for at least 2 years or have a net worth of $1 million. Right? Limited access is one way the wealthy stay wealthy. But thanks to today's sponsor, Republic, that changes. Republic makes it possible for everyone to invest in startups. Their team of investment professionals curate private investment opportunities with high growth potential so we can invest alongside notable VCs. From pitch decks, SEC documents, to social media and press and company updates, you can see everything about the company in one place. You can also invest in art, music, video games, and projects of all kinds on Republic, which I love. So to invest alongside the 1% and in the future that you believe in, head to republic.com/Phil or click the link below and use my referral code to get up to $100 when you invest. And then killer robots! But actually, yeah, killer robots. The San Francisco Police Department is looking to use their robots to kill people with their latest policy proposal. The policy is reportedly set to be reviewed by the Board of Supervisors later today, and specifically the SFPD is looking for approval to use robots, quote, as a deadly force option when risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers is imminent and outweighs any other force option available to SFPD. With as of now, the department reportedly having 12 robots that are used for situational awareness, investigation, surveillance of areas officers can't get to, defusing bombs, and in hostage negotiations. But they aren't planning on activating murder mode tomorrow, with a representative of the SFPD saying in a statement to Motherboard, the department does not have any sort of specific plan in place as the unusually dangerous or spontaneous operations where SFPD's need to deliver deadly force via robot would be a rare and exceptional circumstance. And a public information officer saying they don't plan on giving robots firearms at any point, but they can be equipped with explosive devices to breach certain structures, saying the SFPD must be prepared and have the ability to respond proportionally. Also, I think a key thing is this is not a wholly new concept. In 2016, for example, the Dallas Police Department used a robot outfitted with explosives to kill a gunman that had shot and killed 5 police officers, which is why you have people saying, yeah, I think this makes sense, but at the same time, this has caused concern with activists and experts alike. With Paul Shari, who actually helped create the US policy around autonomous weapons in war, saying, once you've authorized this kind of use, it can be very hard to walk back. And a member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a nonprofit organization with the cause of defending digital privacy and free speech, saying, we have a very clear position that we do not think in a domestic policing context robots should ever be armed. We really fear you'd be seeing these armed robots coming out to every protest on standby, and that's just a very dangerous situation. And all of this coming as several robotics organizations signed an open letter saying general use robots should not be weaponized back in October. And then I've got a heartwarming story for you today, but it is the Philip DeFranco show, so it is bittersweet, and it does start with a kidnapping. The year is 1971, and Melissa Highsmith is just under 2 years old. Her mother, recently separated and working full-time, had left her with a roommate and then passed her off to a babysitter who never returned. And that was the last time Melissa's mother ever saw her. But Melissa's family never forgot about her and never stopped searching for her. They held birthday parties for her, they interviewed with newspapers and podcasts, they rushed to other states chasing leads. But for 50 years, nothing came of it. Until at the beginning of this month, when Jeffrey Highsmith, Melissa's father, saw his results at an at-home DNA test, with him finding a match for a granddaughter he didn't know he had. And then one of Melissa's sisters, Rebecca, checked her Ancestry.com account and found a connection to 2 boys with the same last name as the mystery granddaughter that Jeffrey found. So Rebecca and another sister, Sharon, referred the results to an amateur genealogist, who then used the DNA charts to confirm that all 3 children belonged to their sibling, and it turned out it was the one they had long been searching for, meaning that Melissa was alive.
I just couldn't believe it. I thought I would never see her again.
And they said, Dad, she's alive. And I started crying. And after 51 years, it's so emotional.
The genealogist connected with the children's adoptive father, who gave them enough information to find Melissa's Facebook page. With Melissa, who until this point had been known as Melanie, was skeptical when she first received the message. Which, I mean, it makes sense. How would you react if someone kind of messaged you out of the blue and they're like, hey, we're your real family, you want to come hang out? But after they mentioned a birthmark on her back, she agreed to a DNA test. With all of that culminating to this last Saturday, where for the first time in 51 years, Melissa met her parents again at a lab in Fort Worth, Texas, discovering that she had this huge family that had never stopped looking for her, including 4 siblings and countless nieces and nephews.
It is overwhelming, but at the same time, it's just the most wonderful feeling in the world.
But of course, with this being a story about kidnapping, it is important to know that Melissa's childhood had not been easy without her family. She reportedly had a tense relationship with the woman who raised her and left home at 15 years old. And that woman reportedly confirming she knew Melissa was a kidnapping victim.
The person that raised me, I asked her, is there anything that you need to tell me? And it was confirmed that she knew that I was baby Melissa. So that just made it real.
But still with this, the mystery of the person who initially took Melissa is still under investigation by the Fort Worth Police Department, who said despite the statute of limitations being long expired, they'll continue to pursue the case and look for answers to 50-year-old questions. But in the meantime, Melissa has been welcomed home with open arms and reportedly actually even wants to redo her wedding so her father can give her away. And then this could be catastrophic for the US economy. And specifically, I'm talking about the ongoing labor dispute between railroad unions and freight carriers. Right? And we've talked about this on the show before, back when President Biden helped broker a tentative agreement to prevent a strike at the last minute back in September. That deal including a number of really just basic things like better pay and working conditions, as well as more flexible schedules for things like